The medical bay of Station 7 was cold and quiet. Machines hummed softly in the darkness. Dr. Hayes stood in front of a large glass chamber filled with blue light. Inside the chamber he looked like a crystal made of ice and starlight. His body was shaped like a tall figure, but it was not solid. It shimmered and changed colors as his thoughts moved through his crystalline form. Was dying, the doctors of the collective had said so. They had said it many times. They had said it so many times that had stopped counting. His consciousness is breaking apart, the council had written in their last message. The harmonic decay has gone too far, there is no cure, there is no hope. Let him go, let him rest. This is mercy. Did not believe in the mercy of giving up. He was human. Humans did not work that way. He had been studying for 4 months now. The alien scientist had arrived at the station 6 months ago, sent by his own people for treatment. Back then could still speak. His crystal form glowed with bright purple and gold light. He moved with purpose. He laughed at jokes. He told stories about the research he had done, the discoveries he had made across the galaxy. Then the decay had gotten worse, much worse. The purple light had dimmed too, the gold had turned blue, could no longer hold his thoughts together for more than a few seconds. He would start to speak and then forget what he was saying. His crystal form would crack and splinter and then slowly pull itself back together. Each time he put himself back together, something was missing. A little bit of him was lost each time. Had tried everything. He had run every test. He had used medicines that worked on crystalline beings. He had used machines that sent signals into his matrix. Nothing worked. The decay continued. The consciousness continued to break. 6 days ago, the council had sent its final message. Had read it 3 times. He had read it so many times that he had memorized every word. Dr. Hayes, we thank you for your efforts, but condition is past all healing. To let him continue this way is cruel. We are sending authorization for you to end his suffering. The procedure will be painless. He will feel nothing. This is the best thing we can do for him now. You must complete this by 7 days from the date of this message. We are sorry. The council had not told anyone about the 7-day deadline. He had not told his staff. He had not told Commander Brooks, who ran the station. He had told no one. He wanted to believe that he was wrong. He wanted to believe that someone, somewhere in the galaxy, had found a cure for harmonic decay. He had searched every database. He had read every paper. He had found nothing. Now he had 4 days left. Sat down in his chair. He was very tired. His eyes hurt. His back hurt. He did not remember the last time he had slept for more than 2 hours. He picked up his medical file and read through the data again. The numbers told him the same story they always told him, was breaking. There was nothing to do but watch. The medical bay door hissed open. Did not look up. He thought it would be Alice Foster, his junior doctor. Alice was good at her job, but sometimes she was too cheerful. Did not have space in his heart for cheerfulness right now. But it was not Alice. It was a small child. The girl could not have been more than 8 years old. She had light brown hair that stuck up in odd directions. Her shirt had a purple stain on it that looked like juice. She stood in the doorway and stared at the glass chamber where floated in the blue light. "Hello," she said. Jumped up from his chair. "You should not be here. This is a medical area. It is not safe for children." The girl did not look scared. She looked curious. "What is that thing?" she asked. "That is none of your business," said, but his voice was not unkind. "What is your name? Where is your guardian?" "My name is Emma Mitchell. I am supposed to be in the schoolroom, but I do not like the schoolroom. I like this place better." Felt a small smile on his face, even though he did not want a smile. "The schoolroom has teachers who help you learn. This place has sick patients who need rest. You cannot be here." Emma walked closer to the glass chamber. She was not scared of, she was not disgusted by his appearance. She simply stared at him the way a child stares at something beautiful. "He is very pretty," she said. Had never heard anyone call pretty before. People usually called him strange. People usually looked away. "His name is," said, "he is very sick." Emma placed her small hand against the glass of the chamber. Her hand was warm. The glass was cold. She pressed her face close to the surface and looked its crystal form. "I am sorry you are sick," she said to him, even though he could not hear her. "I hope you get better very soon." Something moved inside the chamber. The blue light flickered. The crystals shifted and reorganized. For a moment, a thread of gold light appeared inside's form. It was small, but it was there. Stepped forward and looked at the medical readings. The numbers had changed, just a little bit, but they had changed. Consciousness' signature had become more organized for a few seconds. It had never done that before. "What is his name again?" Emma asked. I said, "Hello," Emma said to the glass. "My name is Emma. I will come back tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. And one day you will be all better and we can be friends. I know you will be better, I know it." She turned to, "Can I come back tomorrow?" Should have said no. Station protocol did not allow children in the medical bay. There were rules for a reason. Rules kept people safe. But looked at the medical readings again. The numbers were still slightly better than they had been all morning. And he looked at Emma's face, so young and so sure that impossible things could happen. "Yes," he said, "you can come back tomorrow." Emma smiled. She ran out of the medical bay before could change his mind. Emma came back the next day. She brought lunch. It was a sandwich with cheese and bread, and it was not very good. The cheese was hard and the bread was dry, but she had made it herself, and that was what made it valuable. "I made this for you," she told through the glass, even though he could not eat. "It tastes bad, but my mother says that food made with love tastes better than food made with machines. I do not know if that is true for aliens, but I made it with love anyway." Dr. Hayes watched from his desk. He pretended to work, but really he was watching the medical readings. Every time Emma spoke, the blue light in the chamber shifted. Every time she spoke, the and white crystals became a little bit more organized. Not much, just a little bit, but it was there. Emma came back the next day, and the day after that. She told about her home planet. It was a planet called Earth, far away at the edge of known space. She told him about the oceans and the mountains and the rain. She told him about her school and her friends. She told him about her mother, who was a pilot for the research team, and how her mother was always gone, always flying to new places and new stars. "I wanted to come with her," Emma said to the glass. "I wanted to see new things, and I am seeing new things. I am seeing you, and you are the most interesting thing I have ever seen." On the fourth day, Emma brought colored paper and markers. She sat down on the floor in front of the chamber and started to draw. She drew as he must have looked before the sickness. She drew him with bright purple and gold light. She drew him with a shape that was strong and whole and not breaking. "I looked at your old research papers," Emma said as she drew. "Dr. Hayes showed me some of them. You discovered things about how stars are born. That is amazing. That is the best thing I have ever heard. You are a very important person, very important. The galaxy needs you to get better. I need you to get better." Dr. Hayes stood in the doorway. He watched Emma draw. He watched the medical machines respond to her voice. And he began to think thoughts that he had not allowed himself to think before. What if consciousness was not just a mechanical thing? What if it could not be fixed by machines alone? What if a being that was breaking needed something more than medicine? Alice Foster found him staring at the medical readings. "The numbers are wrong," she said. "Look at this. Every time that child speaks, the harmonic signature improves. It is not stable, but it is consistent. That should not be possible. There is no medical reason for it to happen." Looked at her. "How long have you been watching this?" "Since yesterday," Alice said. "I thought I was wrong. I thought the machines were broken, but I checked them 3 times. They work fine. Something is happening that we do not understand." His mind was moving fast now. He could feel the pieces of something big moving together. "What if consciousness is not just chemistry?" he said. "What if it is also something else? What if it is connected? What if a broken consciousness can be fixed by attention, by being seen, by being known?" Alice looked at him like he was crazy. "That is not science." "Maybe not," said, "but it is working. Look at the data. Tell me it is not working." Alice looked at the data. She could not deny what she was seeing. The numbers showed improvement. Small improvement, but real improvement. On the 6th day, Commander Brooks came to the medical bay. He looked unhappy. He always looked unhappy when the council sent him orders. He said, "The council is asking for confirmation. They need to know if you have completed the procedure with. They are very insistent. They say that mercy requires us to act quickly." Felt his heart stop. Today was day 6. He had 1 day left. "I need 1 more day," he said. Commander Brooks said slowly, "I cannot give you 1 more day. The order is clear. I can maybe give you until this evening. That is all I can do." Nodded, he understood. Rules were rules, even when the rules asked you to do something that was wrong. But then Emma came into the medical bay, carrying more drawings. She had made a large picture on a long piece of paper. It showed healthy and strong, and next to him was Emma, holding his crystal hand. "I have something to ask," Emma said to Commander Brooks. She looked very small and very brave. "Can we please not give up on, please? Everyone else gave up on him, but he is not a bad person. He is a good person. He discovered beautiful things. He helped other people. I know he is worth saving. I know it. And Dr. Hayes knows it too. Please do not make him stop trying." Commander Brooks looked at the small child. He looked at her drawing. He looked at Dr. Hayes and saw something change in the commander's face. He saw the moment when the rules stopped being the most important thing. He saw the moment when mercy became more important than orders. "We will need proof," Commander Brooks said slowly. "We will need to show the Council something. What do you need? What can I give you to try?" His mind was racing. "I need one thing," he said. "I need someone to help me understand why the child's presence is making a difference. I need Alice Foster and one more researcher, and I need 24 hours. "You have it," Commander Brooks said. "I will tell the Council there has been an unexpected development, but if this does not work, I cannot protect you from their orders." "I know," said. That night, Alice and a researcher named began their work. They looked at years of data about consciousness and crystalline beings. They looked at human research about psychology and healing. They looked at the recordings of Emma speaking to. The research room was full of screens and papers when Emma woke up. Dr. Hayes had not slept. Neither had Alice or. They had worked through the entire night, and now they had something that looked like a plan. "Look at this," Alice said, pointing to a screen. "Every time Emma speaks to, his consciousness signature becomes more organized, but it only stays organized for a short time. Then it breaks apart again. It is like his mind needs constant input to keep it together. It is like his broken pieces are floating apart unless something is holding them." Nodded. "That is the key," he said. "We need to create something that can hold him together. Not a medicine, not a machine by itself. We need something that mimics what the child is doing. We need something that provides constant harmonic resonance." Was looking at a different set of data. He had been studying original crystal structure the way he had been before the decay started. "What if we use his own pattern?" said. "What if we create a harmonic field that matches his natural frequency? And what if we combine it with—" He paused, thinking, "with human emotional feedback? What if we use Emma's presence as the anchor and the harmonic field as the tool that keeps him organized?" "That is not science," said. "That is poetry." "Maybe," said, "but it is also our only chance." They worked through the day. They designed a chamber that could generate a precise harmonic field. They created a connection between Emma and that would let her voice and her heartbeat reach directly into his consciousness. They calculated the frequencies. They checked and checked again. They had to be exact. If they were wrong, would fragment completely. He would be gone. Emma watched them work. She did not understand all the science, but she understood the important part. They were going to try to save him. They were going to refuse to give up. "Can I help?" she asked. "You are helping," said. "You are the most important part of this experiment." Late in the afternoon, Commander Brooks came to the research room. He looked tired and worried. "The Council is demanding an answer," he said. "They say that if the procedure has not been completed by tonight, they will send a vessel to retrieve themselves. They will take him back to space and they will end his life there. I cannot stop them. I can only delay them. But even I cannot delay them much longer." Looked at his team. He looked at Emma. He made a decision that would change everything. "We do the procedure tonight," he said. "We try now. We do not have time to wait." Alice said, "We have not finished all the tests. We do not know if this will work." "I know," said, "but if we do not try, he dies anyway. At least this way we have a chance." They prepared the chamber. They taught Emma what she needed to do. She would sit in a special room next to his chamber. She would hold a device that would let her speak to him directly. Her voice would go into his mind. Her heartbeat would become his heartbeat, and the harmonic field would keep him organized while his consciousness tried to heal itself. "What if I do something wrong?" Emma asked. "You cannot do anything wrong," said. "You are doing what you have been doing all along. You are telling him that he is worth saving. You are holding his attention. You are keeping him from drifting away." Emma nodded. She was scared, but she was also brave. Humans were good at being brave when the people they cared about needed them to be brave. At 9 o'clock that night, they began. The harmonic field activated. The air inside's chamber hummed with energy. His crystal form began to glow brighter. The white colors started to shake and move. Cracks appeared in his surface. Do not be scared, Emma said into her device. Stay with me, I am right here, you are not alone, you will never be alone again. Watch the medical readouts. His consciousness signature was chaotic. It was breaking apart more than it ever had before. But it was also reorganizing. The harmonic field was holding the pieces in place just long enough for them to come back together. Come on, whispered. Come on, you can do this. You are so strong. You are so much stronger than they thought. Emma kept talking. She told about the stars her mother had flown to. She told him about dreams and hopes and all the things that made life worth living. She told him about the future, the one they would have together, where she would ask him questions about his research, and he would teach her everything he knew. For 40 minutes, the outcome was uncertain. His form flickered between organization and chaos. Sometimes the light was bright and strong. Sometimes it dimmed almost to nothing. Alice was crying without realizing it, had his hands pressed against the glass of the observation window. Then something changed. The light inside the chamber became steady. It grew brighter. The colors began to return, not just blue and purple and gold started to appear in crystal form. His shape became more solid, more real. The harmonic field stabilized, and then slowly began to move. Not the broken, scattered movements of before, real movement, purposeful movement. His crystal form turned toward Emma's chamber, and a voice came through the communication system. It was weak and broken, like something recovering from a very long illness. But it was his voice. It was really his voice. Who speaks to me? Asked. Who calls me back from the darkness? It is me, Emma said, crying happy tears. It is Emma. I told you that you would get better. I told you that you were worth saving, and now you are getting better. Now you are coming back. His light brightened. In the crystal depths of his form, patterns of thought began to move. Organized patterns, whole patterns, patterns that belonged to a consciousness that was healing. I remember you, said slowly. I remember a small human who spoke to me when I could not speak. I remember your voice. It was the only real thing. Everything else was breaking, but your voice was real. Your voice was like an anchor. Your voice brought me back. First week after woke was the most important week of his recovery. He could not be left alone. If the connection to Emma was broken for too long, his consciousness would start to scatter again. So Emma lived in the medical bay. She ate her meals there. She slept there. She was with every moment. She talked to him about everything. She told him about human history and human art. She told him about music and dancing and what it felt like to run on a planet with real gravity. She told him jokes, even though he did not understand them at first. She told him stories her mother had told her, stories about traveling between stars and discovering new worlds. And listened. His consciousness, still weak, still recovering, clung to her voice like a crystal reaching toward light. Why do you do this? Asked her one day. His voice had become stronger, but it was still thin, like wind moving through ice. You could be with your own kind. You could be playing with other humans. Instead, you sit with a broken alien. Because you are not broken, Emma said. She was sitting in her small chamber, separated from his by a wall of reinforced glass. You were breaking, but you are not broken anymore. And besides, you are my friend. Friends do not leave other friends when they are hurt. His crystal form glowed softly. I did not know friendship until you spoke to me, he said. In the collective, we have rules, we have order, we have structure. But we do not have friendship the way humans do. We do not have beings who will stay with us just because they care. We do not have beings who will refuse to give up on us. In the observation room, and Alice were documenting everything. They were writing down how was recovering. They were noting every small improvement. They were recording Emma's words because they were beginning to understand that Emma's words were medicine. Emma's voice was the cure. By the second week could stand. His crystal form was more solid now. The cracks were healing. The colors were returning. Purple and gold and deep blue all moved through his matrix in patterns that showed a consciousness that was reorganizing itself, relearning how to be whole. I want to know about the procedure, said to during one of the doctor's visits. I want to know what you did to save me. Explained everything. He explained the harmonic field. He explained the consciousness mapping. He explained the theory that a broken mind needed something more than machines to repair it. It was not the technology, said. The technology was just a tool. What really saved you was Emma. Your consciousness was fragmenting. It was breaking apart into pieces that could not find each other. But Emma's presence, Emma's voice, her emotions, her attention on you, it gave your broken pieces something to hold on to. It gave them a center. It gave them a reason to come back together. Light dimmed. He was thinking about something difficult. "The council wanted to end my life," he said. "They believed that mercy was an ending. They did not understand that mercy could be a beginning. They did not understand that another being could choose to hold you together when you could not hold yourself together." "That is human," Emma said from her chamber. She had been listening to the whole conversation. "That is what humans do. We do not think like machines. We do not follow rules that say something is impossible. We just do what feels right, and sometimes what feels right changes everything." By the third week was strong enough to leave the chamber for short periods. The harmonic field was still there, still surrounding him, still keeping his consciousness organized. But he could move now. He could walk. He could sit next to Emma without the glass between them. When they saw each other face to face for the first time, Emma laughed. "You are so tall," she said. His crystal form shimmered with what had learned to recognize as pleasure. "You are so small," said back. They became inseparable after that. Emma showed the research papers. She showed him the drawings she had made. She showed him everything she had created while he was broken and could not see her. "You did all of this?" asked, looking at page after page of Emma's careful work. "You did this for me." "I did this because I believed in you," Emma said. "I knew you were too important to let go." Read his own research papers for the first time since his consciousness had started to decay. The papers described how stars were born. They described the process of light coming out of darkness, of order coming out of chaos. It was strange to read his own words now, to understand that his life was reflecting his life's work. He had spent his career studying the creation of light, and then he had been darkness, and then a small human had called him back to the light. "I want to work again," said Tu. "My consciousness is recovering. The fragmentation is stopping. I want to help you understand what happened to me. I want to make sure that what happened to me does not happen to others." Smiled. "That is why I kept you alive," he said. "Not because I wanted to break the rules, but because I could not believe that someone like you should be lost. Your knowledge matters, your discoveries matter, and now we have the chance to use what happened to you to save others." By the end of the month was almost completely recovered. The colors in his crystal form were bright and strong. His consciousness was whole. He could think clearly. He could remember his life before the decay. He was himself again. And he had changed. The collective, when they learned what had happened, sent a message of apology. They had been wrong to give up so quickly. They asked if would return home. He refused. Instead, he asked to stay on Station 7. He asked to work with an Alice. He asked to help develop the treatment protocol so that other beings with consciousness decay could be saved. "I will stay here," told the council in his response message. "I will stay here because humans showed me something that my own people forgot. Humans showed me that no being is beyond saving. Humans showed me that one small act of kindness, one small refusal to give up, can heal what all the logic in the universe cannot. I want to teach others what humans taught me." Emma celebrated by making another sandwich. It was still not very good. The cheese was still hard and the bread was still dry. But ate it anyway, and he said it was the best thing he had ever tasted because it was made with love, and that made all the difference. 3 months after his awakening, the common room of Station 7 was filled with people and beings from across known space. The collective had sent representatives. The Federation had sent scientists. Even the isolationist Republic had sent an observer. They had all come to hear about something that had never been done before. They had come to hear about consciousness revival. Stood in front of the gathered crowd. Behind him was a holographic display showing all the data from his case. Next to him stood Alice and the researchers who had worked through the night to create an impossible cure. And sitting in the front row, with her legs swinging because her feet did not touch the floor, was Emma Mitchell. And standing beside was... He was beautiful. His crystal form glowed with deep purple and gold light. His consciousness moved through his matrix in smooth, organized patterns. There was no more white. There was no more fragmentation, was whole again. "We were told that condition was incurable," said, looking out at all the important beings gathered before him. "We were told that consciousness decay was always fatal. We were told that the most merciful thing to do was to end his life before the suffering became too great. Many beings agreed with this. Many believed that giving up was the only correct choice." He paused. "We were wrong to believe them." A murmur moved through the crowd. "What if," continued, "consciousness is not just a chemical process? What if it is also a connection? What if a broken mind does not need a new mind, but instead needs another mind to hold it together while it heals itself? Stepped forward. His voice was clear and strong now, with no trace of the brokenness it had carried before. I was breaking, he said. I was falling apart into pieces that could not find each other. The doctors of my own people said there was no hope. But then a human child came to me. She did not understand my science. She did not understand my consciousness structure. She only understood one thing. She understood that I was worth saving. He looked at Emma. She smiled back at him. She spoke to me, continued. Every day she spoke to me and told me stories and refused to believe that I was lost. And her voice, her presence, her refusal to accept my death became the thing that held me together. Her compassion became the technology that no machine alone could provide. And I was saved. The representative stood up. She was an ancient being covered in patterns of silver and blue crystal. We have studied your data, she said. We have read every report. We are ashamed. Our own people believed that when a mind began to break, there was no path forward except ending. We accepted the logic of it. We did not think to question it. But this human, this child, showed us what we had forgotten. She showed us that mercy is not always ending. Sometimes mercy is a beginning. The scientist raised her hand. We have individuals in our collective who suffer from consciousness fragmentation. We would like to attempt this treatment on them. But we have one question. In the data, the most important factor appears to be the presence of a caring being. Can this treatment work if we do not have a human child? And Alice exchanged a look. Alice spoke up. We think the key is not specifically a human child, she said. The key is presence. The key is compassionate attention. The key is another consciousness that refuses to let the broken consciousness fall away. We believe this could be a trained caregiver of any species. We believe this could be a family member or friend. The specific form does not matter. What matters is the connection. What matters is the refusal to give up. The question, added, is not how to fix a broken mind. The question is how to hold a broken mind together long enough for it to fix itself. And that is something that any being who cares can do. Over the following weeks, word spread through the galaxy. The treatment protocol was published in every scientific journal. Beings from all across known space began to study it. And slowly, other scientists began to try the technique on other patients. And it worked. Who had suffered from consciousness decay for 2 years woke up, held together by the voice of his own sister speaking to him through the procedure. A who had been given up on opened her eyes, connected to a friend who had refused to let her go. One by one, beings who had been declared beyond saving were being brought back. And at the center of it all was a new field of medicine. It was called consciousness stabilization therapy. And the first patients, the ones who had taught the galaxy what was possible, were and Emma. One day, Emma came to the research lab where was working. He was studying data now, collaborating with and Alice to understand exactly how consciousness connection worked. He wanted to refine the treatment. He wanted to make it better. He wanted to save more beings. I have been offered a position, Emma said. She looked nervous. The station director wants me to be a junior researcher. They say I have natural talent for this work. They want me to help develop new treatments. His crystal form brightened. You should accept, he said. But I have to stay in school too, Emma said. And my mother wants me to keep learning, and I do not know if I am smart enough. You are smart enough, said. You proved that when you refused to accept that I was beyond saving. You proved that when you held my consciousness together with nothing but your voice and your belief in me. Intelligence is not only about how much you know. Intelligence is also about knowing what is worth saving and having the courage to save it. Emma smiled. She accepted the position. For years after that, Emma and worked together. She grew older. She became a brilliant researcher in her own right. But she never forgot those early days when she was a small child who had walked into a medical bay and decided that an alien scientist was worth saving. Lived to be very old, he made discoveries that changed how the galaxy understood consciousness. He trained hundreds of researchers in consciousness stabilization therapy. Beings that had been written off as lost were given back their lives. Families that had been broken apart by consciousness decay were made whole again. But his greatest discovery, the one he was most proud of, was not about science or technology. His greatest discovery was that compassion was stronger than decay, that love was stronger than death, that one being refusing to give up on another could change everything. On the day before died, many years later, Emma was with him. She was not a child anymore. She was a grown woman, a brilliant scientist, a person who had helped save thousands of beings. But too, she was still the small child who had placed her hand against his glass chamber and promised him that he was worth saving. "I would have died if it were not for you," told her, his voice still clear and strong even after all the years. "No," Emma said, holding his crystal hand. "You would have died if I had accepted what the galaxy told me. You would have died if I had believed that anyone was beyond saving. But I did not believe that, and so you lived." Light dimmed gently. He was ready to rest now. "You taught the galaxy something important," he said. "You taught them that the smallest voice, if it comes from the right heart, can save the universe. Thank you for saving me, Emma. Thank you for refusing to give up on a stranger." And then he was gone. The news of his death spread through all of known space. Thousands of beings mourned. Thousands of beings who had been saved by the consciousness stabilization therapy wept for the alien who had opened the door to their salvation. But Emma did not cry at first. She was still, holding his crystal hand, grateful that she had known him, grateful that she had been brave enough to speak when others were silent. In the years after his death, Emma continued his work. She became the director of the Consciousness Revival Center, the facility that had been built around the treatment he had developed. She trained other researchers. She helped other beings refuse to give up on beings they cared about. And on the wall of her office, she kept a drawing. It was the drawing she had made when she was 8 years old, when she still believed in impossible things. It showed healthy and whole, and next to him, a small girl holding his hand. The drawing had been right all along. The impossible had become possible. The being who was beyond saving had been saved. And it was all because one child had looked at something the galaxy wanted to throw away and had seen something worth keeping. That was the real story of. That was the story that mattered. Not the science, though the science was important, but the simple, human act of refusing to give up on someone. That was the most powerful technology the galaxy had ever known. And it had been inside them all along, waiting to be used, waiting for someone brave enough to try. In the medical bay, in the observation room, in the hallways of Station 7, word spread quickly. The impossible had been done. A being declared dead by the galaxy had been brought back to life. And it had been done not by advanced technology or brilliant science, but by the simple presence of a child who had refused to believe that anyone was worth giving up on. The council read the reports of what had happened. They read the medical data. They read Emma's words. And for the first time in their long existence, they understood something that humans had always known. That love was stronger than logic. That hope was stronger than death. That the smallest voice, if it came from the right heart, could change the entire universe. In the observation room, Commander Brooks put his hand on his shoulder. "You did it," he said quietly. "You did what the whole galaxy said was impossible." Could not answer. He was too busy watching his work save a life. He was too busy watching a child and an alien scientist discover that connection was stronger than logic, that hope was stronger than decay, and that sometimes the smallest act of kindness could change everything. Would need months of recovery. His consciousness was still fragile. It would take time for his crystal matrix to fully repair itself. But he was awake, he was alive, he was going to live. And it was all because one small human child had refused to believe that anyone was beyond saving. And slowly, a theory began to form. What if a broken mind needed something to hold it together? What if that something was not always a machine or a medicine? What if it could be the presence of another being who cared? What if the human child was like an anchor, keeping from drifting completely apart? Emma slept in the medical bay that night. She would not leave. She said that should not be alone, did not make her go. As she slept, curled up in a chair near the glass chamber, the blue light inside glowed a little brighter than it had in months. Turned back to his chamber, the gold light had faded, but knew it had been there. He had seen it. The machines had recorded it. Something in the broken consciousness of the alien scientist had answered when a small human child had promised him that he was worth saving. Sat back down in his chair, he still did not know how to cure harmonic decay. He still had 4 days left, but for the first time in months, he felt something that was almost like hope.